Welcome back to the United Stand. On today's show, Leny Yoro. Could Manchester United beat Real Madrid to the signing of this 18-year-old centre-back? News coming out about that, but how real is it? And what could this actually mean? Could we be speaking to other players part of this agency and what players they are? There's a really interesting story on this. Do I think Manchester United have actually put in this bid so far? I don't, but I think there is something to it, and I don't think there's smoke without fire. I'm going to go through that in today's show. Also, some news on Benjamin Sesko as well. While Chelsea and Arsenal are busy putting their projects forward to Benjamin Sesko, Manchester United could miss out as they currently don't even have a manager to pitch to the player. Got a little bit of updates on that as well, which is really interesting. And thinking about the amount of players that Manchester United have missed out on over the years by not doing the deals early, could this be another one? Also, some news around Jonny Evans as well, getting a new deal. Are you in agreement with that, and what does that mean for us in the centre-back market? Does that mean we're still going to go for two defenders? And also a defender departs the club. We're going to speak about that as well. I'll just touch on it a little bit because it's not, I mean, Brandon Williams is leaving Manchester United. It's not too big of a deal. There's more pressing things to talk about. But get in the comments straight away. Leny Yoro to Manchester United, yes or no? And how realistic do you think this is? I saw a lot of people saying in the chat as well about how, you know, Yoro, there's no truth in this story. There is some truth in this story. Manchester United do really like Leny Yoro. Like, that is the truth. But the fact of the matter is, Real Madrid want Leny Yoro. And if they get there first, he's going to go to Real Madrid. But Manchester United are definitely in this race, and he's somebody that is up there on our centre-back list. Should we spend this amount of money on an 18-year-old? Well, in my opinion, Leny Yoro is one of the most promising young up-and-coming centre-backs talents in the world. I think it would be brilliant if we managed to pull off this signing. In a realistic sense, do I see us beating Real Madrid to a signing in our current state, considering we've not even got a manager in place? No, I don't. But let's get into the news anyway. So it's coming from the Spanish outlet Marca, and it's coming in that Manchester United have joined the race for Leny Yoro and have put a very big offer on the table. So this is coming out from very good Real Madrid sources. They're usually very good with in and around Real Madrid. This is where he's coming from. Obviously, Yoro is a big target for Real Madrid. But they've currently just been working on the Mbappe deal. They're now working on Alphonso Davies. Could Manchester United potentially swoop in there? And it also says Manchester United have made an offer close to 60 million euros for Leny Yoro. 60 million euros, which is 51 million pounds. Not bad in the centre-back market, considering what centre-backs are going for right now, how many are on the table, and different sort of price tags we've been looking at. Most of the price tags that Manchester United have been looking at in terms of price tags have been from around like 50 to 60 million. Obviously, you've got Branthwaite, that's on the massively high scale. For a young 18-year-old centre-back with bags of potential, 51 million is not a bad price whatsoever, but obviously no price has been accepted. The report is that Manchester United have bid that amount. I keep seeing conflicting reports. A lot of people saying that we've bid £51 million, 60 million euros, but then other people are saying that we're going to bid 60 million euros, 51 million pounds. But Leny Yoro, I do expect to have to pay a little bit more for him, but as an initial opening bid, if that was the case, you would expect it to be around that ballpark. Of course, on this, you know, it's a Real Madrid source. I do think, personally, if Manchester United had bid for Leny Yoro, Fabrizio Romano would have come out and said it. You would have a more concrete tier one source coming out and saying that Manchester United have made a bid. So I personally don't think a bid has gone in. Could a bid go in? Absolutely. And I definitely don't think there's any smoke without fire. And there's a little bit of news as well to bring into the show to kind of back this up in a second. How many euros for him, says Zeus. You know what? People in this chat always get on my back for the way I say euros. Leny Yoro and then euros. I mean, it's not that hard to understand, guys. It's not that hard to understand. Will or not, welcome to the United Stand Members Club. So let's run a poll before I get into the juicy bit of the information. Run a poll. Would you want Leny Yoro at Manchester United? Should he be Manchester United's first choice right-sided centre-back? Because right-sided centre-back he is. If we got him, say goodbye to Todibo. Todibo ain't happening. if we got Yoro in, it's a big responsibility to put on an 18-year-old's shoulders to come in and be a starting centre-back for Manchester United in the Premier League. It's different to Ligue 1, it is different. But a lot of people comparing him to Saliba. Saliba obviously had that loan spell in France that made him, and he's come back to Arsenal and done amazingly. Don't get me wrong, Yoro's development for 18 years old is absolutely insane, and he is a top talent. So you would absolutely be committing to him. I would love to go and get him. I know Mark has conflicting views on this. He messaged me before and said, you know, I think that's too much money for 18 years old and coming into the Premier League. I honestly would be willing to take that risk because of how good he looks, and he just has all of the attributes that you would want to be a potential top centre-back signing, and I actually think he'd complement Lisandro Martinez really well. He's someone you could have for the next decade. But get in the chat your opinions, get your votes in. So yeah, apparently Man United have made an offer close to €6 million for Leny Yoro, or they're about to. I would move towards they're about to stage. Real Madrid, though, have told Leny Yoro to wait and resist big offers. The club still wants him and contacts are still ongoing. If anybody didn't see, Yoro was watching Real Madrid lift the Champions League against Dortmund in London. We're in London, aren't we? He's been linked to Real Madrid for a long time. And if Real Madrid want this player, they will get this player. In 2024, do we really see Yoro choosing Manchester United over Real Madrid if he had the option? Like, let's be honest, I love Man United. I can put my red tinted glasses on all day long. But Real Madrid just can't stop winning Champions Leagues. They're building an absolute super team filled with young talent. They're ambitious. They've got Carlo Ancelotti as a manager. The only thing you can think about is potential game time. Would you get more game time in Manchester United? But still, let's be honest, if Real Madrid's going in for you and Manchester United's going in for you, you're going to pick Real Madrid. So it depends on if Yoro wants to wait. I would say the only thing that could help us in this deal, if we are serious about it, is the fact that Madrid have just spent a lot of money on Mbappe. And I know people say he signed on a free, but my oh my, the amount of money that they'll be paying Mbappe in wages, the agent fees, the signing on fees, everything like that, it will be absolutely huge. And plus, the rumours at the moment is that they're working on the Alphonso Davies deal. I mean, Real Madrid, like, could you imagine winning a Champions League, next day you're signing Mbappe, and then, you know, a few days after that, you're already working on your new left-back deal. Like, that's the way Real Madrid work. They're an ambitious club that want to continue winning. So if they're working on the Alphonso Davies deal, Man United could sweep in there and get in there on Jonny Yoro early. But there's also big rumours that Manchester United can't spend any money before July the 1st because nobody wants to buy our players. We've got players still on big wages, and we need to wait for the financial year to end before we spend money because of how bad our financial fair play is due to a lot of different factors in the way that we've handled previous transfer windows. So it is an interesting one. Let me see how the polls go in. Would you want Yoro at Manchester United? Yes or no? I mean, I would. 80% are already saying yes, so a lot of you guys on the same page as me. But this is where the juicy bit comes in, the interesting stuff. So this is coming from Sam C Reports, obviously works with the United Stand. He said that a source has told him this morning that there were agents present at Carrington today and a couple of taxis who were waiting outside, and the Gestifute agency branding visible on some of their belongings. Gestifute look after Yoro, João Neves, Nori, among others. So if Gestifute agency were at Carrington today, which Sam C Reports is saying that his sources told him they was, like, they are holding meetings at Carrington, obviously Manchester United's training ground, and they're looking after the players such as Jonny Yoro, João Neves, Nori. Like, that is very, very interesting stuff, and this is where I say there's no smoke without fire. Because a lot of the times, club will meet with agencies and they have a lot of players under their agency, and they'll discuss multiple players at one time. So they'll have a meeting, you know, we're really interested in a few of your clients, let's have a meeting to see what work can be done on this. Very early days meeting. So they'll meet at Carrington and they'll be like, Jonny Yoro, we really like him, he's high up on our list. This is, you know, they'll discuss potential fees, potential offers, like where they think that the player stands. Also, Nori, a left back, we know Manchester United really like him. Sam, I was speaking to him before and he said he knows that Manchester United really like Heaton Yoro, so that's someone really exciting from Wolves. Would probably cost over the amount of money we'd want to spend on a left back, but still something to keep an eye on. Pedro Neto is also part of that agency as well. Michael Olise is our first choice, we know that, but there also has been murmurs of Manchester United liking Pedro Neto, and if Olise did end up going to Chelsea, would Manchester United need to kind of go for a second option or a third option, and could Pedro Neto be among them? Personally, for me, I don't think we'll go anywhere near Pedro Neto. Absolutely talented, but for me, just way too injury prone. So I think you can write that one off. And João Neves as well. We know that Manchester United absolutely love João Neves and they would sign him if it wasn't for the massive, massive fee that Benfica are holding out for. Without a doubt on João Neves, Benfica want the release clause, 105 million, or they won't sell him this summer. They're not desperate to do it. Apparently Arsenal have been sniffing around as well, but there's no negotiation. João Neves is 105 million or nothing. So I'd rule João Neves out because as much as we like him, we can't afford him. I'd rule Pedro Neto out because for me, as talented he is, he's too injury prone. So what other players could Manchester United be discussing with this agency? Leny Yoro, 100%, and this is probably where the news has come out that Manchester United are going to make an offer. And also Heaton Yoro as well. We're looking at a left back and we really do like him. So this is actually quite exciting, to be honest with you, because I trust Sam, and I trust Sam when he says to me that that agency has been at Carrington this morning. So interesting that a lot of people are thinking that we're neglecting at the transfer window because we're so focused on the manager, but there clearly is discussions coming out behind the scenes. What wouldn't surprise me, a lot of people are writing this kind of story off as, rubbish, basically. But what really wouldn't surprise me is if Manchester United have held talks with this agency this morning at Carrington and something has leaked out of them talks that has kind of got through to a couple of different journalists, and this is where the article has come from, that Manchester United are going to make an offer of 60 million euros for Leny Yoro. Oh my gosh, why can't I say that name? Leny Yoro. Manchester United are going to make an offer because, if they're discussing in the meetings this morning, what would the price range be? How interested are Real Madrid? Would the player be open to coming to us? I mean, this is the sort of contract we could offer. If they're discussing them things this morning, and it might just be brief meetings, it might not even be that in-depth yet, it might just be the start of something. When things start kind of leaking out, and Chinese whispers starting to happen, some things can kind of get leaked along the way. It could kind of go to different journalists and different outlets that Manchester United are thinking about putting an offer in for Yoro, and then that kind of gets moved into a story, into an article that Manchester United are going to make an offer close to 60 million euros for Yoro. So I would definitely keep an eye on that one. And do you know what? If we manage to sign Yoro, a Real Madrid target, I would hold my hands up and say fair play. Fair play. I just don't see it happening though. I do think Real Madrid will swoop in and I do think they'll get him. Real Madrid don't lose a transfer race and they definitely don't lose against Manchester United in our current form. The other thing I was thinking what it could be as well is it potentially could be Yoro's side trying to speed things up of Real Madrid putting a bid in for him. Real Madrid have made their interest known on Yoro, and they could be wanting that deal to happen quite early. And if you kind of put Manchester United into the equation, they're going to bid for him, like you better come in here quickly. That just could be kind of some news coming out to try and force Real Madrid into getting that deal started. So get in the comments down below what you think. And if you think Manchester United have any chance of pulling it off, I'd be interested to know. Heaton Yoro is a must-buy, says Mark in the chat. I really like Heaton Yoro from Wolves, I really do, but honestly, Manchester United are looking to spend around 20 to 25 million pounds on a left back. Heaton Yoro is going to cost more than that, but he's someone that I would be massively excited about if we did go for him and sign him, because attacking left back, really good on the ball, Premier League proven, proper exciting, young player. I just think he looks like somebody that Manchester United should be going for. He really does, and I think he would fit in well, and I think he'd be one that could develop at a top club, and I do really like him from what I've seen of him at Wolves as well. Simmer J Red Devil says, never watch him. Can you explain how his playing style is? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked about Yoro, because I've been doing my research. I've been writing a couple of things down, and Yoro is someone I've been looking at, honestly, for quite a few weeks now, because Manchester United have been linked to him for quite a while. And I always thought he was one behind the scenes that wasn't going to be possible because of Real Madrid, but someone that I would absolutely love if he was able to come up at some point in the transfer window. So I will speak a little bit about Yoro and what his playing style is as well. Simon G. Kelly says, I prefer Neto over Elise. Simon, I do really like Neto, by the way. He's top quality, but at the end of the day, there's no way Manchester United should be spending around 80 million, which is what Wolves want for him, on somebody that is going to spend the majority of his time at the club on an injury bed. We've got enough players that are injured and injury prone. Neto is injury prone. Elise has had a little bit of trouble with injuries, but Neto is injury prone. And as talented as he is, there's no point having a player that isn't available, because that's what we've had for so long at Manchester United. MKF says, I suspect we're discussing a Nori. Well, we've not really had much talk on the left-back situation, but what we do know is we do like him. But get in the comments down below, what left-back would you want? What I would say, out of the left-backs that have been put forward, Doherty, Kerkez, Nori, Gutierrez from Girona as well, I do think Nori for me stands out. I definitely prefer Nori to Kerkez. I think Kerkez is decent, but I don't think he's anything special. Few years' time, I'll probably eat my words on that, but just based off what I've seen of him watching for Bournemouth, every time I've watched Nori, like, I really do like him. He is quite attacking. You know, you probably would say he's more of even a wing-back, but I do think in a system at Manchester United where you're going to play, you know, with a back four where the full-backs are expected to invert, come into the midfield and provide that strength in going forward, Nori would fit in, and I think he would be a good signing. So get in the comments what you think about that. Linda Searle says Kerkez is one for the future. I mean, Kerkez looks decent, but I don't think he looks like anything special yet. He had a really good game against United, but let's be honest, who doesn't, with the way Manchester United have played this season? But quickly on Yoro, for people that haven't watched him that much in the French league, because I'm going to be honest, I hadn't watched him that much until I started doing a little bit of research on him, and even now, like, I need to be able to watch him more to get a full grasp, but based on kind of what I've looked at so far. So I wrote a few things down about Leny Yoro. So obviously he plays for Lille at the moment. He's from France. He's a French nationality. 18 years old, which is absolutely wild, by the way. Like, the potential he's got at 18 years old is crazy. It's off the scale. 6'3", so a good, tall centre-back. We've got Lisandro Martinez at left-sided centre-back, and as good as he is, you need to pair someone tall next to him, so he fits that bill as well. And he is predominantly right-footed too, and plays right-sided centre-back. A lot of people have compared him to Saliba because they have similar playing styles. Saliba obviously developed in France as well, which is kind of where that comparison goes to. I don't really like to compare players too much, but I do think the French league is really good at kind of developing centre-backs, especially at this moment in time, and Yoro is kind of the next one to come out of that league. And you look at his strengths, he's passing, he's great, which is something that we need at Manchester United. He's really, really good on the ball. His physicality is excellent, his athleticism, he's got speed. When you're talking about one-on-one defending in a foot race, he's excellent. He covers the wide channel really well. That's another reason why I like Todibo, because Todibo covers the wide channel really well too. And at Manchester United, when your full-back's going to be getting forward, I mean, we've seen Dalot sometimes as one of the furthest men forward this season. You know, with the way he gets into that midfield and makes them runs, you need a right-sided centre-back that's going to be able to cover that right channel. Yoro can do that, and he's got the pace for the recovery too, which allows you to play a higher line. I would say the only place where he could probably improve is kind of progressing the ball out from the back in terms of driving forward with it. But you've got Lisandro Martinez, who is absolutely excellent at that, and kind of opening up the midfield with them sort of passes. And Yoro is still young, and with how good he is on the ball and with kind of the ball at his feet, like, that could only develop anyway. So, and also he's got really, really long limbs. Like, and I know that sounds, people like, why is that an attribute? Wan-Bissaka, the way he can get his foot in on tackles, because he's got them long legs that are just like, you know, everyone calls him the spider. Leny Yoro also has them long legs that can just get in there, and he's dual winning, and his tackling is excellent because of that. So defensively, he's super, super capable, and he's got a lot of stuff going for him. He is somebody that I think is going to be a top centre-back in years to come, and that's why a lot of European clubs are looking at him. Apparently PSG have also looked at him as well. Real Madrid are the main ones that are kind of wanting to go in for him, and also Manchester United. Remember when Manchester United were really interested in Varane when he was young? I think Varane was only like 19 at the time, when Sir Alex was still at the club, I think it was. And Real Madrid ended up going getting him. I mean, it could be like a similar scenario here with Leny Yoro, to be honest with you. And we've got some super chats in saying, Samaya Red Devil says, Nori is my personal preference. United can utilise him like Dallo and have made him as a ball carrier from defensive third. Thank you very much for your super chat. Yeah, Nori is someone that is very, 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 very exciting. I can read in some of the chat here as well. I keep getting, that name is really hard to pronounce. I keep getting it wrong, but thank you everyone for sticking with me. Yusuf says we're offering Jonny Evans a new contract. We are offering Jonny Evans a new contract. I'm going to get onto that in a second. So Jonny Evans, a lot of people have been speaking about whether we should keep Jonny Evans or we should let him go. Or a lot of people have talked about making him kind of maybe a coach behind the scenes. In my opinion, I've always said, like, within like the last kind of month or so, I think Jonny Evans, the best decision would be to keep him again on a one-year deal. Not because, you know, I think he's the be-all and end-all for Manchester United, and because I want him to play first-team football for Manchester United, because that's not the case. But the fact is, with Jonny Evans, is he offers experience, he offers leadership. He is the only player in that whole squad that has won every trophy for Manchester United in English football. He knows how to win. So Jonny Evans has been in dressing rooms where they've had that elite mentality. He's been in winning dressing rooms, and he is an example, I think, to the rest of the squad that is very well needed, especially with the young players in that squad. We've spoke about senior players maybe letting down the younger players a little bit this season. Jonny Evans is a senior player that shows experience and also knows what it is to be a Manchester United player. He's played through injury for the club, even now at the age that he is. And he's come into Manchester United, he's got his head down, and he's done a very, very good job when needed. So for me personally, I would keep Evans. And that doesn't mean I wouldn't sign 2 more centre-backs, because I would. I still think we need to sign a right-sided centre-back. I still think we need to sign a left-sided centre-back. We have had massive, massive, massive issues with injury this season. Massive issues, and you've got to be prepared for that. For Manchester United to just think, oh, it's a one-off, we're not going to prepare for that next season, would be stupid. We've got to prepare for having injuries again. That's the way the world works now, and I don't think Manchester United are going to fix all of their injury issues just within a couple of months. So for me, I would keep Jonny Evans around as a leader in the dressing room and as a cool head. And you know, a lot of people might think it's the wrong decision due to his age and maybe some limitations that he has. But the fact of the matter is, my plan is next season, Jonny Evans plays a game here and there. We're not actually relying on him to play most weeks, which is what we've done this season. We've relied on Jonny Evans way too heavily this season. Next season, my plan would be have him there, someone you can bring on off the bench, someone for experience in the dressing room, someone who is going to be a squad player for Manchester United and not someone we're going to have to rely upon heavily. So that is why I would keep him. Warren G says play more of Willy Cambuala. I would keep Cambuala around, of course, but for me personally, I think Cambuala could really benefit from a loan spell. Let's be honest, like, he's not going to play first team football for Manchester United next season, like, consistently. He'll probably get some games here and there, and you know, he could develop into the squad, but he's not going to play enough for me to kind of be sure he should stay. I mean, from an injury point of view and to make up the squad, it'd be great to keep Willy Cambuala in and around the squad. But in terms of progressing his career, I think alone, even, like I say, you know, to the French league, like, I think he is French himself. Like, I think alone there could do him a world of good. I mean, look what it did for Saliba, and not everyone's going to be Saliba, I know that, but I think a loan spell where you're playing week in, week out could really be a good thing for Willy Kambwala, but it just depends on where we're at in terms of centre-backs. And plus, if Luke Shaw's fit as well, he can also play left-sided centre-back. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. MKF says Evans has been very good for us and he's a great personality for the squad. Would be great for depth and influence. Also got the vote in on Loro at United, and 81% of you say yes, 19% of you say no. It's Loro. Yoro. I'm trying to say it with a French accent, but the Mancunian's just coming out in me. Siba Oyaya says bye to Debo and loan Willie to Nice. Newton Lassan says leadership for me is not enough. We have Leacher, Bruno, Maguire, Shaw for that. Getting better centre-backs is key. Loan Kambwala to Nice. I mean, that's a great kind of point there about loaning Kambwala to Nice. Obviously, you know, when you have a multi-club model, these are benefits that you can take from it. The Todibo to United deal, if it did happen, you'd have to obviously do it at market value or else suspicion would occur. But in terms of, you know, the news we got quite a while ago about Sergeant Ratcliffe and Ineos kind of employing people to work across clubs to kind of create that relationship between both clubs and creating that multi-club model. With Nice, for us, that'd work really well. And if we could somehow loan Kambwala to Nice, if that was an option that was available to us, I think that would be really beneficial to Manchester United in terms of getting the player some game time and also just seeing where he's at in terms of his development. I think that would be a great idea. But in terms of the depth of the centre-backs, people saying you can't just keep someone around because of the leadership. Jonny Evans has been one of our best centre-backs this season. Like, let's not get it twisted. He's still pretty good. Like, he's not someone I want to play first-team football for United every week next season. He's not. He has got his limitations, that being pace. But in terms of his leadership and in terms of he's actually quite good on the ball, and in terms of the way he leads that back line and is just a solid defender, he can do that for you. So you're not keeping around just for the leadership aspect. You are keeping around because of his quality as well. But in terms of where my standings would be for centre-backs next season, ideally, in an ideal world, and this is what I think it will be as well, and people might say this is too many, but if you loan Kambwala, you're probably at the right number here. So you bring in your new right-sided centre-back, whether that be Loro or Todibo or, you know, there's other names that have been mentioned as well, but you'd say them two are probably the hottest names in terms of the right-sided centre-back right now. You're looking at Loro and Todibo. Probably Todibo is the one that's most likely, but say you bring in a new right-sided centre-back, and then you also bring in a new left-sided centre-back. We know that Manchester United massively want Branthwaite. We know Branthwaite can play on both sides, but predominantly left-footed, predominantly left-sided centre-back. If we don't get him, you know, you're looking at Inacio, you're looking at Mark Gahey, you're looking, you know, Max Kilman's been talked about as well. But you're getting a right-sided centre-back, you're getting a left-sided centre-back, and they're your two signings, and they come into the squad. I still think you buy two centre-backs, even if you give Jonny Evans a contract extension. I do not, at all, see a Jonny Evans contract extension is an excuse for only buying one centre-back. You still go and buy a right-sided centre-back. Right-sided centre-back for me is the absolute priority and must. I think that could even be, it should be our first signing, to be honest with you. It's an absolute must. Varani's gone. We have to replace him. We have to get a partner in for Martinez. We have to buy a right-sided centre-back. That should be our absolute focus. Then you move on to left-sided centre-back, which is still important, but you do have Luke Shaw that can cover there. But Lisandro Martinez, with his injury problems that he's had since he came into the club, you have to cover that position. So you get two centre-backs in. And then you have either Maguire or Lindelof sold. One of them will stay. And I think Maguire will end up staying. I think Lindelof will end up going. And then you have Martinez as well. So there you've got cover for all four. You've got two centre-backs who are able to play left-sided, Martinez and the new left-sided centre-back we bring in, and you've got two competent centre-backs that can play right-sided. You have Todibo and Maguire, or Yoro and Maguire, like whatever it is, you have your centre-backs there. It might not be them exact centre-backs. We've been linked to about 10 different centre-backs, but you have them four. And then you move on to the depth below that, and you'd have Jonny Evans there, ready to step in when required and when needed. And some people would say, you know, does Jonny Evans play over Maguire at some point? You know, some parts of this season, you know, they've both been good, but Jonny Evans is Jonny Evans has been a lot better than what people expected, including myself. So you have Jonny Evans there for depth as well. And then you've got 5 centre-backs, which should always be enough. And then you also have Kumbuala, who I think if you do have 5 centre-backs, you can afford to send Kumbuala out on loan. But Man United have had such bad issues at centre-backs that they might want to keep 6 around. But I think 6 is probably too much. I think 5, you've got your ideal number there for centre-backs and depth. And you've got 4 that can definitely play. You know, you've got the options, because let's be honest, we are going to have injuries, so you have the depth on each side. And then you've got Jonny Evans as well, who can play right-sided, can play left-sided and can step in when needed. I think that would be the perfect balance for Manchester United in terms of going into next season. MKF says Loro is too young. I mean, Mark said this as well. Can you really say a player is too young if they're good enough? I mean, Garnacho started playing for Manchester United at 18. I mean, is he too young? Is Mainoo too young at 19 years old? Mainoo looks like our best midfielder, like by far. I mean, Bruno Fernandes is Bruno Fernandes, but Mainoo looks absolutely incredible. One of the first names on the team sheet, and Mainoo's 18, 19. So, you know, people say it's too young, but at the end of the day, if you're good enough, you're old enough. And I think we shouldn't be justifying not buying a player just because of their age. If they've got all the attributes, if they suit the way that Manchester United want to play, if they're good enough and the scouts feel that they're good enough to come in and start for Manchester United, I don't think we should be put off by the fact that they're 18 years old. I think, if anything, that's something that you should be happy about, because, you know, you go and buy Loro for, I don't know, 65 million euros, or it'd probably be a bit more, 70 million euros, you get him for around 62 million pounds, something along that lines. And that's just me kind of coming up with a figure that I think is reasonable in terms of where we're at right now. You've got a centre-back there for the next decade, at least. You know, 10 years down the line, he's still only 28, which is absolutely mental. You know, you could, centre-back wise, you could even have him for the next 15 years. So if he's good enough, if he's good enough, he's old enough. And that's kind of the quote you've always lived by. Of course, you do have to look at it, because, you know, the Premier League, it's physical, it's different to Ligue 1, and there is going to be a lot of demand on him to play well, because realistically, if you're bringing in Loro for the right-sided centre-back role, like, he's going to be starting. And there's a lot of pressure on him to do really well. Like, you're filling in Varane's shoes. Maguire, we all know, has had a good season, but he's not our starting right-sided centre-back. He's going to be more of a squad player, I'd say, next season. So there was a lot of pressure for him to come in and hit the ground running. I get that on an 18-year-old, but he has the attributes. If he's good enough, I don't think age should scare you off. But get in the comments what you think. But yeah, get in the comments what you think about that. Would you want Yoro at Manchester United? 81% say yes and 19% say no. So a lot of the chat agree with me on that one. But get your comments in. Interesting stuff. Also, Brandon Williams leaving the club. I mean, it's not that big news, to be honest with you. Brandon Williams leaving, we all knew it was going to happen. I mean, what I would say, it's a real shame where his career's kind of gone to. I remember when he first came onto the scene at Manchester United, and there was people saying, you know, is he going to keep Luke Shaw out? People were saying, you know, how good he was going to be. You know, I know he was right-footed playing on the left side, but everyone found him so promising. He was captain of the youth team, I'm pretty sure, before he came through. He had a lot of potential, Brandon Williams, but he's someone that kind of just absolutely fell off a cliff. I wish him all the best for the rest of his career, but I mean, a big mistake again was what Manchester United made. I think we give Brandon Williams something silly like 70 grand a week after a few good performances in the United shirt, and these things need to stop in Manchester United, because players can come in with that hype and it can slowly die off. You've got to make sure at Manchester United that they are up to it, and you know, a few good games doesn't warrant a brand new big shiny contract. And Mainoo is completely different in my opinion. In my opinion, Mainoo is generally generational, but still, you don't want to. Apparently, Mainoo's going to get a new contract. You don't want to go silly with these numbers. You don't want to give too much too quick, which I think is really important. A lot of people are talking about my pronunciation, Yoro. That's how you say it. Like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. Like, am I getting this wrong? Like, I've watched him, I've looked at him. Am I saying it wrong? Like, honestly, I'm getting really frustrated with myself here. Stefan Tankanvic saying people compared Brandon Williams to Saka. I saw that on Twitter the other day. People are saying I'm saying Loro. Maybe that's because I'm putting a slight French accent on it because, you know, I'm trying to be respectful of the name and the culture. And when I say Yoro, people take the mick out of that as well because I've said that on previous shows and people like Yoro or Yorobeth. So no matter what I say, people are taking the mick out of my accent. That is where I'm at right now. I'm trying my best. If I say Yoro, people have an issue with that. If I say Yoro like that, trying to do a little French accent on it, like the way that it's supposed to be said, people have a go at me for that as well. So I'm trying my best. At the end of the day, I want to bring him to Manchester United if we have a slight chance. But I do think Real Madrid will beat us to the punch. But thank you, everyone, for getting involved. Anyway, this is where I'm at. This is where I'm at, everyone. Mathematics was yesterday. Today is English lessons. I mean, not only on the United Stand do we bring you the latest Manchester United football news, we also bring you some education as well, which I think is really important. But make sure you hit a like on the video, everyone. Let me know in the comments who you're thinking to bring in at centre-back. Do you think we can bring Yoro to Manchester United? Yoro? Do you think we can bring Yoro to Manchester United? Do you think it's a ploy to get Real Madrid to bid early? Do you think the player could pick Manchester United? This is a question for you. I mean, I still think any player plays for Real Madrid. I've seen someone before say, you know, Yoro, do you choose to play with Maguire or Mbappe? I mean, they're the decisions you have to make at the end of the day. And yeah, Manchester United are way, way, way off where Real Madrid are. Real Madrid are going to be competing for Champions League. They've just won La Liga. Man United are 8th in the Premier League and they're going to be in the Europa League. I mean, it's night and day. But as an 18-year-old, you know, you've got a lot of time and you've got a big career ahead of you. Champions League's going to be there in the future for you. And, you know, you've got a lot of time to work up and compete. Do you think, you know what, if I do go to Manchester United, I'm probably going to get a lot more game time? I mean, that could be something that creeps into his head, but that might just be me trying to justify why anyone would come to Manchester United over Real Madrid. Let's be honest. Let's be honest, if Real Madrid are in there, they're beating us to the punch. Let's be real about it. But look, everyone, one thing I can't excuse is Chelsea beating us in transfers. Real Madrid, okay, I understand it. I shouldn't have to because we're Manchester United, but Real Madrid are one of the biggest clubs in the world and they've got a huge reputation. Chelsea beating us to a player, now that would get my back up. Oh, I forgot to bring in the little bit of Sesko news that I have. I'll do that now, actually. Sorry, I'm a bit all over the place trying to learn how to say Yoro with you guys. But on Benjamin Sesko, this is just a little bit of news that I kind of had in. And again, in terms of signing players, a lot of people are being frustrated because it doesn't seem like we're making that much movement. Elise is being chased by Chelsea. Obviously, Benjamin Sesko, Manchester United apparently have put their project forward to the player as well as Chelsea and Arsenal. The question I would ask is, what project are we putting forward to Benjamin Sesko? Because currently, our project doesn't even have a manager. So, you know, Chelsea can put forward Maresca and where they're planning to go with that. As much as I disagreed with that sacking of Pochettino and the way they went about it, like they got it done and they're now moving on to getting players and putting a project forward and they know who they've got as manager, they know the project they're on. Arsenal can obviously put forward the Arteta project, they're sticking with him. You know, we were here, we competed for the league the last 2 years, we were very, very close this year. Next year, the plan is to go for the league, etc., get further in the Champions League. They have a plan there that they can approach Sesko with, and obviously they don't have an out-and-out number 9, so that would probably be very appealing. You're going into a team that's competing with Manchester City at the top of the Premier League. Does, to be honest, to be fair to Arsenal, have like history and have a fan base, and there's an open spot at number 9. So I think Arsenal are in prime position to go and get Sesko, if I'm being honest with you. Also in London as well. But then Manchester United are presenting their project, and what can they present? We want someone to compete with Rasmus Højlund. We did want you a couple of years ago. We've always liked you. But currently, we actually don't know who our manager's going to be. We don't know anything else. So for us, that is the worrying thing. And plus, there's a big rumour going about that Manchester United can't spend any money before July the 1st because of financial fair play. And obviously, we need to wait until the end of the financial year. If we could get money into our pockets, for example, if we could sell Greenwood before then, pure profit, that would allow us to spend more. But it's something that Manchester United are very, very tight on at the minute. It's not Ineos's fault, it's due to poor planning and ridiculously poor recruitment from the previous ownership, which is still at the club, but Ineos weren't there at that point. So with Sesko, what I was told is that Manchester United were in pole position to sign Sesko around 24 months ago, but we dropped the ball. He was available for £20 million, but Manchester United didn't pull the trigger on it. And apparently Sesko, you know, that's something that he remembers. Sesko's agent has been at Arsenal games, he's been at United games. Chelsea, Arsenal and United all do want Sesko. Like Romano said it, top tier source. But for me, you know, imagine if we lose out on Sesko. If he is someone we really want, I mean, I've already said I generally would prefer to go and get like an Ivan Toney over a Sesko, even though Sesko does look really good, because I think it suits more of what we want. But in terms of Sesko, you cannot deny the potential is there, and he's got huge potential. He's massively talented. And if he's the player that Manchester United have decided that they want, and we lose out on him after being able to sign him previously and not deciding to do it, that's another player that slipped through our fingers. I mean, you've had Haaland, you've had Bellingham. I mean, there's been loads of players that Man United have had the opportunity to sign. We've messed it up early doors, and then later they just end up going to another club and they end up doing really well and being really successful. So for me, it would be unfortunate if we do miss out on the Sesko deal because we can't present a proper project to the player and we can't sell him on our project. But at the same time, if I'm being realistic, and, you know, if you would have spoke to me, you know, 3 or 4 years ago, and you would tell me that Arsenal are going to beat us for transfers because they're a more attractive prospect, I would have laughed in your face. But the fact of the matter is, Arsenal are a more attractive prospect than us right now. They're competing for the Premier League. I get it, you know, we've won 2 trophies the last 2 years and they've not, but they're competing for the Premier League. Their style of football is exciting. There's a massive excitement and buzz around the club. They've got a stable manager. The recruitment's been good the last few years. They've got a young squad. And they've got an open goal at number 9. We've got Rasmus, who Sesko would have to compete with. Like, that's 2 young strikers competing against each other, and they're both young as well, so they're going to be there for years to come. Sesko can walk into Arsenal and be the starting number 9 for them. Havertz has been good, but he's not an out-and-out number 9. If they want to play with an out-and-out number 9, Sesko's going to go in there and they're going to build around him. So I honestly think if I'm Sesko and I'm looking at the situation, the more attractive prospect is probably Arsenal. Like, they're in the Champions League. You can walk straight into that number 9 spot. That's what you can do. Chelsea, for me, would be an absolute no-go. I think as much as Chelsea have invested in players the last few years, I would not want to go anywhere near that club if I was a player personally. United is one of them. You're going to have to compete with Rasmus. Do you back yourself to do that? I think Sesko would. But also, who's the manager? What's the project? Where are we aiming for? They're things that we don't even know. So how can we present it to the players? And some people say, well, we do know behind the scenes just because it's not leaked out publicly to the media and the fans yet. But the fact of the matter is, there still isn't a decision on Ten Hag. And until we know who the manager is going to be, you can't present a proper project to a player. So that's where we're at on that one. Sahil Azarbazin says Forsen leaving or staying. Fabrizio confusing me for real. Fact of the matter is, we've offered Forsen a new contract, but he wants to leave because I think he probably wants more game time. So that's where we're at on that one. But look, everyone, thank you for getting involved and watching the show. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you for hitting a like on the video. Please make sure you do that before you leave. Get your comments in down below. Would you want Yoro at Manchester United? Would you prefer to go for Todibo? Would you prefer to go for someone else? Let me know in the comments down below. Where are you at in terms of Jonny Evans? Would you want to give him a new deal? Do you think it's the right decision? And Benjamin Sesko, should he be our first priority? And how would you feel if Arsenal or Chelsea beat us to that signing? Get your comments in down below, everyone. Make sure you stay tuned later on for the 8 PM show. Any breaking news will be back with you. Have a lovely rest of your Wednesday.